Let's make way for Bob Costas, Hall of Fame broadcaster, Major League Baseball Network host, announcer, and spent 40 years at NBC. Bob joins us. Good morning, Bob. How are you?
Hey, Dan. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I was talking about my days as a Little League ump. Did you ever umpire?
I umpired a softball game once, and I was wearing a baseball cap, and it was sometime in the 80s, so perhaps I wasn't as well known as I wound up being at one point. And the pitcher did not at first recognize me, and he was vociferously disputing my calls. And, you know, softball, slow-pitch softball is tough to umpire because of the arc of the pitch coming in. And he was calling me everything in the book, and then as the half inning ended, he walked off, and he was giving me another piece of his mind, and he got close, and he goes, Bob, it's just a game. Just a game. Yeah, that's right, you bleepity bleep bleep. You're right, it is just a bleeping game.
Well, it's just a game, but baseball is making it a little more interesting, and the proposed changes by the commissioner.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on this?
Well, let me preface this by saying that no matter what I do, no matter how nuanced the point I make, there are some people who just want to say, well, check with Costas, his head's going to explode. He's a purist. My objection to the first wild card way back when was not that it changed baseball, but that it changed it without foresight. I said it at the time, forgive this little history lesson, you're going to have situations where what used to be the most dramatic games have no meaning at all. And that played out constantly, where at the end of seasons, teams that would have been vying for the most important thing head-to-head didn't care at all because one or the other was already assured of a wild card. They'd rather get their pitching in place. And there was virtually no difference between being a wild card and being the team with the best record in the league. Even if the wild card came from the same division as the team with the best record in the league, well, if you can get to the LCS, forget about it. We start all over again. That disrespected the meaning of the full season, and it took some of the drama away. And that wasn't just an abstract thought. It played out time after time. When they went to the second wild card, I approved of it because it addressed at least some of those concerns. Okay, now we have this proposal from the commissioner, and we're not going to run down all the complicated whys and wherefores of it, but I think it's very interesting, and it has a lot of merit.
I like it. I'm okay with it. I don't think it messes with the integrity of the game. Now there's two things here. If we add a couple more wild card berths, if we give a first round bye, okay, then there's incentive for, I like that. And then the other part is the reality TV part of it, which I'm okay with. If you want to have a manager there saying, and we want to play the Angels, then all of a sudden you got this drama. Oh, they wanted you guys. And then, so you at least get something that's a little more interesting there. Where do you stand on the reality TV part of this?
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. In fact, I think it will be very interesting, not just as a selling point with the reality TV part, but from the standpoint of strategy. Will you get some storyline, and it's not a bad thing, where somebody in a small market or the team that was the seventh qualifier says, they dissed us. Yeah, you'll get some of that. And will there be, the Yankees or the Red Sox, one or the other gets to pick? Should they pick their arch rival, or should they try to avoid them and maybe meet them further down the line? That's all fine. But there's also strategy involved. What if a team you could potentially meet has already got its pitching in order, but the other team had to go to the wire and throw everything but the kitchen sink out there in order to qualify? Maybe you prefer that team in a best of three rather than the other team. You might not prefer them if the slate was clean, but under these circumstances. Or maybe, I don't know, their best pitcher just went on the injured list. Or you had a particularly bad time with that team that year. They're more left-handed in their rotation, and you're more left-handed in your lineup. There's a lot of interesting considerations there, and it doesn't have to be automatically highest seed gets the lowest seed.
Talking to Bob Costas, Hall of Famer, Major League Baseball Network host and announcer. Is there anything else that could come out with the Astros where you would say, you know what, on second thought, let's take away the title?
Well, I guess it would have to be confined to the 2017 season, since they got to the World Series last year when there's some allegations about buzzers, but they didn't win it. I guess if something else came out, but I believe that right now, the commissioner has closed the book on the 2017 season, and he's going to leave it the way a lot of things are left. If you want to believe that Barry Bonds' 762 is the real record, go ahead. If you want to believe that Hank Aaron and Roger Maris are the real career and single-season record holders, knowing what you know now, go ahead. There's an asterisk in the minds of fans who pay attention anyway, at least many of them. And I think that's the way baseball wants to leave it. What I think a lot of people have questions about is what might have gone on subsequently, something a little more sophisticated than banging on a trash can, and knowing that the Astros were willing to engage in what Tom Verducci has called these dark arts, knowing that they were willing to do it. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but you can't discount the possibility that they did it in different ways in different seasons.
If I'm a Red Sox fan, sell me on us losing Mookie Betts.
It's the best we could do under the circumstances. If we had been able to retain Mookie, if we thought that even a competitive bid would keep him, then we'd do so. But we're going to lose him no matter what. It's difficult to rid ourselves of most, they had to pick out some of it, but of most of David Price's contract. So we were able to package Price with him. In combination, this is going to give us some good young players. Alex Verdugo is definitely a good young player, and it's going to get us into a position where, and we've shown that we've been able to do this as an organization before, that we'll be able to retool and be competitive once again. We wish we could have kept Mookie Betts, but there was no way we were going to keep him beyond this year. And last year we bogged down even with him on our team. And although we're not going to say this publicly, we know we're not going to be as good as the Yankees this year with or without Mookie Betts. So we made the best of a very bad situation.
Yeah, they might not even have been better than Tampa this year as well. The Dodgers, it's a crowded outfield. I mean, they needed Garrett Cole, but the pitching question mark here, it felt like that's what they need. You know, you're not sold on the bullpen, so the Dodgers go into this season, and granted, they can always pick up somebody, but you got questions about the Dodgers?
Yeah, how many games over 100 will they win? You know, it's good to be in a situation where you're looking for weaknesses. And I grant you that Kenley Jansen has not been what he once was, and that is a consideration. They do, however, have a lot of pitching depth. Of course, any team would have loved to have acquired Garrett Cole. Mookie Betts is not a bad consolation prize. Their lineup is hellacious.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. You know, the Angels lineup is pretty impressive as well, Bob. If, you know, they had Jock Peterson, so they lost Jock Peterson, but still, you know, Ohtani in there, and you add Rendon, and then you got Mike Trout in there. Best lineup in baseball, Dodgers, Yankees, other?
I'd go with the Dodgers right now. Maybe I'm overlooking something. The Yankees, obviously, in a homer-happy era, and in that ballpark, the Yankees will score a whole lot of runs, so I don't think they have any concerns in that respect either. It's interesting you mentioned the Angels, though. Adding Joe Madden should help them. Adding Anthony Rendon should help them a lot. They may not be done dealing. If they wanted Jock Peterson, then they may look elsewhere for another bat. But with the Astros weakened, not just by the departure of Cole, and even with the arrival of Dusty Baker, which is obviously a plus, there's a little bit of dysfunction going on there. The A's are still a very good team and in that division, but my point is that the Angels might be in a position to make some kind of move this year in the American League West if everything breaks well for them.
Were you ever offered a job other than broadcasting by a team?
No.
No front office?
No.
General manager? No?
No. I was offered a DH spot by a struggling ball club, but I thought I was past my peak.
Were you ever interested in doing something like that? Running a team?
No. I was interested in the machinations of it, how it got done. I was always a student of it. I was an early proponent of Bill James. When Bill James was putting out his baseball abstract, literally mimeographing it from his home in Kansas, I was receiving it. I was on a subscription list. This is in the early 80s. And I would put him on the radio on KMOX in St. Louis. So all of that sort of stuff. How do you put a team together? What are the dynamics of a farm system? All that stuff interested me. But as someone who loves baseball and covers baseball, not as someone who thought he should be part of the decision making.
I'll leave you with this. I have a choice for the Knicks if they wanted to add a front office person to run the team.
Yeah.
Theo Epstein.
If he'd leave the Cubs,
yeah.
to
Well, I
run
figure
the Knicks?
if he did that for the Red Sox, did that for the Cubs. I mean, if you can do it for the Cubs, you can do it for the Knicks, right?
Well, what about this then? He's technically not free. Jeff Lunau is.
Oh, I don't know if we want to go down that road.
I think Knicks fans are desperate enough that if your premise is to be accepted, we're accepting your premise for the purpose of this conversation.
Yeah.
Then they are desperate enough to try almost anything.
The Knicks should be allowed to cheat, Bob.
Yeah.
Right? They should be allowed to cheat.
Their three should count for four.
Hey, it's great to talk to you. Hope you're doing well, and appreciate your time as always.
All right, see you soon.
That's Bob Costas, Hall of Famer.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune into Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV. Stream for free on BR Live or download the Dan Patrick Show app.